Hello and welcome. Welcome to my fourth tutorial on AEM Designer. Today we're going to be covering the difference between flowed and position layouts. So let's get right into it. So right over here we have quite an extensive form, and we have a lot of content in the pane. We've got a lot of stuff on the screen, and I chose this form because this is positioned. Now, the way this form is currently set up, the hierarchy is completely flat. It's pretty much essential that we have it as a position form as it stands. Now, what is positioned? Basically, you have the choice between having a subform being positioned or flowed. And what position means is all of your content, it's essentially like pinning something to a bulletin board. You can change its size over in the layout option. You can change its size. So I just selected some text box over here. You can change its size. You can change its coordinates. And where is this? Over here. So I can freely move it all around as I please, just like that. And that is the beauty of the position layout. If your form doesn't really need any dynamic functionality, it is simple, it is intuitive. It's just like moving around text boxes or images in Word. You just click and drag, or you can type out the coordinates and the precise size if you'd like. And you can manage all the other functions like content alignment and margins. You can do that all here as well. And it's very intuitive. It's exactly how you'd think it is. Now, that's the advantage. The disadvantage of the flowed layout is that you cannot leverage a lot of the unique functionality that AEM Designer has to offer using the position layout. And what I mean by this is, if we go into another document, a lot of the really useful functionality of Designer is the fact that you can build out a form that has expandable text fields, such as this. You can also do those within a table as well. You can create dynamic tables where you can add rows or move rows like this. And both of these kinds of functionalities and more would not be available without having flowed layout panes. Because with positioned, you know, this functionality would not work. Because if it did work, then you would run the risk of, having one text box or one table encroach into another space, and that would just be a whole mess. Now, and so I said earlier that the positioned layout is better for beginners because it's more intuitive, even if it is less functional for the end user. Now, suppose we were to take this form and we want to make it dynamic. We want to give it expandable text fields. So we decide to change it to flowed. Now with flowed, we're going to lose all of our positioned functionality, that being our ability to manually change and switch up the layout and location of our objects. So when we switch to flowed, it's going to pile up like a big. It's all just going to be in a big stack. So when we click flowed, all of our content will be arranged like this in the order that it is present in the hierarchy. So our text, a button, a line, and like I said earlier, all of this stuff I cannot move manually. If I try to move it, it won't let me. You can move as far as reordering. So if I can drag the print form button down here, hmm just like that. So yeah, you can click and drag as far as reordering things, but I cannot move the print form button to the right-hand side of this form unless I were to go into the layout and change the alignment. But that still isn't very helpful. In order to make the form look good, you would then have to create subforms and then orchestrate it in such a way that it would still be aesthetically pleasing, like I've done over here. So another very important reason why subforms are so important is just for organizing your document. So if we go over to the second row of this document, affected material subform. So okay, affected material subform. That is this little box that this blue boundary is surrounding, and I have an untitled subform underneath that. Basically, the only purpose of the subform, this interior untitled subform, is for structuring. So it's also flowed, but the flow direction is left to right, so they're being stacked left to right instead of top to bottom, whereas the affected materials subform is stacked from top to bottom. So underneath the defective materials, we have the subform on top, followed by this text, followed by this text, followed by the table. And it's necessary that we organize it in this way in order to have our expandable text field table functionality. But once you get it constructed this way, the benefits for both you and your end user are enormous, just with having a dynamic expandable PDF fillable form. And as a best practice, I would absolutely recommend designing your forms in mind with flowed layouts and expandable fields in mind. So that's all there is to that. Thanks so much for watching. Tune in next time when we're going to be going over pagination. And until then, take care.